on this blockbusting episode of MythBusters.
Want to see something cool?
It's the Green Hornet special.
Yep, sit back, strap in, and go green for an all-access superhero special.
Ta-da! It's science.
First up, an explosive escape.
In the movie, the explosion was initiated by these 8 rockets.
Adam and Jamie want to know if you were buried in a car grave, could you survive an underground big boom?
Let's blow it up.
And would it make a bulldozer fly? Then Cary, Grant, and Tori take us on a wild ride to tackle a 2-part tall tale.
You wanted the great mother of all elevators?
Could an elevator really cut a car? And if it did,
Eat my dust.
would it even be able to go?
Go!
Who are the MythBusters? Adam Savage
Am I missing an eyebrow?
and Jamie Heineman.
Stand clear, I'm going hot.
Between them, more than 30 years of special effects experience. Joining them, Carrie Byron,
Are you ready?
Tori Belleci,
This is real science.
and Grant Imahara.
I didn't train him to do that.
They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test.
You know what I'd like to do?
What?
Something big, like from a Hollywood blockbuster movie, like the Green Hornet.
You're dreaming. We're never going to get access to a movie like that.
You're wrong.
Am I?
Yes, in fact, I have Seth Rogan right here to prove to you how wrong you are.
How did this happen?
We're friends, we hang out.
All the time. And by the way, you are wrong.
Well, then, awesome. We get to bust myths from Green Hornet. Nice. What have you got for us?
Rather than tell you, I think it's much more awesome if I show you. Roll the tape.
In the movie, after his father is killed, Britt Reed decides to become masked crime fighter, the Green Hornet. With the help of Kato, his tech-savvy sidekick, and the Black Beauty. Whoa! Our newly minted superhero takes on the bad guys.
We could be heroes.
And that brings us to the myth. In a key scene, the daring duo are forced into a car grave covered with dirt.
We are totally buried!
And to top it off, a bulldozer. However, Kato has a plan. Hiding behind the armored seating, they're going to detonate all 8 of the car's missiles, which has 2 dramatic consequences. First, the bulldozer gets blown skyward. And the dynamic duo escape unscathed. The question is, are either of those outcomes even possible?
What do you think, guys? Where do we start?
I'm glad you asked. Excuse me, Jamie. I think we just go for it. We match the movie parameter for parameter. We dig a hole, we take the Black Beauty, strap some rockets on the front, put it in that hole with a couple of dummies in the back seat. That's you and Kato. Cover it with dirt, park the bulldozer on the dirt,
Blow the whole thing sky high.
That's right.
and then we find out if the explosives on the car are actually enough to move this bulldozer.
And whether or not me and Kato can survive the blast.
The gauntlet has been thrown, the challenge laid, and on location, the goal is to simulate the scene from the movie as accurately as they can.
Well, this looks like a safe place to do some dangerous things.
Let's go make some big booms.
So it's full steam ahead for the mother of all TNT parties as the guys recreate Adam's coffee bean model in full scale. And here's how.
Let's walk through the elements of this test.
This is our hole. This is the dirt we're going to use to fill it with.
Hey guys, I thought we were gonna dig a big hole. I'm kidding. This is clearly a very big hole. Congratulations.
And this little baby right here is the Black Beauty.
Oh, look at that.
This is not the car we'll be dropping in our hole because this is one of the 5 hero cars from the film, and we can't afford to destroy it. We'll be dropping a facsimile in our hole.
In the movie, the explosion was initiated by these 8 rockets here in the front. Now, each one of them is about 4 inches thick and about 21 inches long. I figure that leaves us enough room for, say, a couple pounds of something like TNT in the head of each one. you doing?
Just filling around.
And this is our bulldozer.
These are our heroes, Kato and the Green Hornet. They're going to be in the Black Beauty behind the back seat.
Now, if the scene in Green Hornet actually does comply with the laws of physics, two things have to happen when we try it. One, that bulldozer has to fly up in the air and off of the spot that it was formerly occupying. And two, our heroes have to survive that blast.
So those are the raw ingredients. Now, to put them together and get cooking. A key detail we haven't shown you from the movie is that Kato had armored the car. He'd beefed up the seats that the heroes hide behind during the blast. And if it's in the movie, it's in the test.
You think this is the kind of armor Kato would have put in the car?
I think duct tape is the key to any good experiment.
I totally agree.
Next, with the Green Hornet and Kato in place, Adam adds pressure sensors to their chests that'll tell us if the explosion is survivable.
My only question is, how can this machine tell you anything if it's exploded?
Because the electrical signal travels faster than the explosion.
There you go. Who knew?
Ta-da! It's science.
Yep, the sensors are wired up to a remote station so that after the blast, the team will have hard data on the kind of forces our dummies were exposed to.
Let's get friendly, Kato. I've always dreamed of taping us together.
I think Seth is doing very well, don't you?
Thank you.
Nice.
Let's blow it up.
All right, let's do it.
That's the cue for the bomb crew.
Okay, let's give this thing a tune-up.
The Black Beauty has 16 pounds of high explosives loaded into the front of it.
Seth, you want to play blow up crap jump rope?
I'm good.
Now, to put that into context, that's the equivalent of the amount of explosives in 10 grenades. So when that goes off, it's big trouble.
What is stopping us from putting this car in this hole?
Absolutely nothing at all. Let's do it. Jamie, let's do it.
That's the next step, maneuvering the stand-in Black Beauty up and into the hole, which, like everything else in the test, exactly matches the dimensions of the one in the movie.
It's impressive that Jamie dug this with his hands.
But even though the setup is the same, Adam doesn't think the result will be.
A prediction? Yeah, I've got a prediction on this one. Actually, don't get me wrong, I love being surprised by the fact that sometimes movie physics actually comply with the laws of real physics. Let's fill the hole, Jamie! But I don't think that is so in this case. I think that bulldozer is going to stay exactly where it was. I don't think the blast is going to move it. And I also think that our heroes are going to die in that blast. Sorry, guys. Woo! That's great. He gets really enthusiastic in those machines.
You can tell. He does it with gusto.
I think that's pretty good. Let's bring in the dozer.
I think that when they set off this bomb, exactly what happens in the movie is going to happen. Exactly.
They go around and push.
I hope I'm right. If I don't, I'm going to feel really stupid.
Well, it's over the hole.
Let's go push the button.
Let's get safe.
So I hear you have a Green Hornet myth for us.
I sure do. Here's the myth. The Black Beauty, our car, has been riddled with bullets in a car chase. We drive into an elevator to escape. The elevator lifts up our car, and the back half of it actually gets sheared off as the elevator goes up. But the front half of the car is able to drive out of the elevator, keep on going.
Now wait a minute, isn't the Black Beauty a Chrysler Imperial?
Sure is.
Well, those are rear-wheel drive cars. If we cut the back end off, won't the front end just sit there?
It would, had my amazing partner Kato not made our car front-wheel drive.
He's tricky like that. Kato magic.
Okay, it sounds like a good story for us. Can a bullet-ridden car be cut in half by an elevator, and can it still drive afterwards?
Drop me by the elevator. I'll take it from here.
After the Black Beauty has been shot up, it takes an unintentional ride in an elevator,
Drive?
Front-wheel drive.
which leads to a two-part question. Would the car really bifurcate like this? And given that it's been converted to front-wheel drive, could it actually make good its two-wheeled escape?
So can you guys actually do this or what?
Oh yeah, we're gonna build our own freight elevator and just go for it.
Yeah, you know what? This is gonna be pretty straightforward to test. We'll just drive the car halfway in, push the up button, and see what happens.
But you know what? First, we need to get our own Chrysler Imperial, then give it a Black Beauty makeover, and then fill it full of holes.
Have fun. I'll be waiting right in this room. I don't care how long it takes.
He seems nicer in the movies.
While Seth waits for results, Grant gets busy with a delivery.
Now that's a pretty car.
And to transform her into the Black Beauty, she needs a film prop makeover from an expert. Step up, Carrie Byron.
I got a little bit of intel on the Black Beauty from the movie. Now, they used as many as 29 of this identical classic car to shoot the movie. They needed them for all sorts of uses. They needed one in pristine original condition. They needed one to shoot up. They needed one with guns on it, one to squish. Our Black Beauty is going to meet its death in our elevator rig. Not before I trick it out a little bit Black Beauty style.
When I see all the work that Carrie's put into making this look like an exact replica of the Black Beauty, it kind of breaks my heart. I don't want to see it destroyed.
My version of the Black Beauty is totally completed. Changed the grille, tinted the windows, Gatling guns, green headlights, grenade launchers, missiles, flamethrower. I just don't think I can be the one to shoot it up after all this work. I think I'm gonna leave this to the boys. It looks better than the real thing.
Carrie reluctantly hands it over because after the boys take it on one last joyride, this dead car driving will be facing the firing squad.
I think you forgot to install the parking brake on the Black Beauty.
Well, I ain't Kato.
Now it's time to get to the science of this experiment, and that is we have to shoot this car with the hopes that we weaken the structural integrity that will give us the best fighting chance of cutting this car in half with an elevator. It pains me to think that we're gonna shoot something this beautiful. And the only thing that gives me any consolation is the fact that we're gonna be using submachine guns to do it. I think I'll get over it.
I can't believe we're gonna do this.
All right, you ready?
No.
Here we go. In 3, 2, 1, fire!
Their goal is to match the movie scene shot for shot. If the Black Beauty on screen had over 200 bullet holes, well, theirs will too.
That didn't suck.
Clear.
We started off with 25 rounds. We moved it to 50. Finally, we got all the way up to 270 rounds. But I mean, I'm looking at it and I still see a lot of steel holding this car together. I don't think we've done enough structural damage with those rounds to actually cut this car with an elevator.
If there's a circle of hell for people who destroy beautiful cars, that's where we're going.
It lives!
Of course, this is the Black Beauty.
Let's go find some crime.
Let's go find an elevator.
Yeah.
Adam and Jamie are about to find out if this scene from the Green Hornet is fact or superhero hype. Specifically, they've got two questions. Would the Black Beauty's 8 rockets have been enough to move the bulldozer up, and away? And second, hidden behind the armored seating, would our heroes have survived the blast? With Seth Rogan, the film star and writer, on hand to help, the team has matched the movie criteria exactly. And we're about to find out.
All right, this is Green Hornet, the actual test, going for broke in 3, 2, 1, fire!
That is huge.
Where's the bulldozer?
It's not where it was.
For a brief moment, with the dust cloud obscuring the scene, the team thought it had blown away the bulldozer. But with a clear view comes a sinking feeling.
Is that it? Oh, no. It blew up a pocket and then it sunk in
Yeah,
a
it
hole.
fell in. Wow, that was a lot bigger than I thought it would be.
Yep, this wasn't a gasoline-fueled movie special effect.
So you've been around movie set explosions. How does our real-world one stack up?
It was scary. There's a lot less fire in it, which makes me think it's actually probably a lot more destructive. You could kind of feel it a bit. You had to get way farther away from it, which also made me think it was more dangerous. But it was completely horrifying.
Good.
Oh.
I think we're gonna need some bigger shovels.
I call not digging this out.
That's a heck of a pothole. Well, as you can see, the loader's still here and still on top of the car. It's down in the hole, though, and it kind of makes sense because energy is going to follow the path of least resistance, and in this case, that's the dirt. It pushed all the dirt out of the way, the loader fell in the hole.
Well, there's your problem.
There were two components to this story. One was that the loader had to fly up in the air and away from the hole, and the other is that our heroes inside the car lived through the blast. I think we're pretty clear that the first part is totally busted. It's now time to get this first part out of the way so that we can check on the second.
Cue the heavy machinery to remove the heavy machinery. And with the dozer out the way, the guys get down and dirty to look for our heroes. But the initial evidence, twisted scraps of anonymous car, does not bode well.
That does not look good.
Plus, the Black Beauty seems to be buried deeper than before, and they call for reinforcements.
Can we get something bigger than me? Awesome.
Yeah, for delicate archaeological precision, don't call the MythBusters. But as each piece of mangled wreckage emerges, it becomes increasingly clear any hope for part 2 of the myth, hero survivability, is dying.
Things are not boding well for Britt and Cato. Oh, man. It's like soup in there.
Superhero soup with Black Beauty croutons.
Dude, I think that's pretty definitive. You guys are dead.
Yeah, it pains me to admit it, but we're toast.
Toast.
When the dummies are finally found, the visual evidence is so conclusive, the team doesn't even need the hard data from the pressure sensors, which is lucky because they didn't make it either.
This explosion was pretty full on. In fact, it was so full on that it destroyed our sensors. So we don't have any exact measurements of what happened here, but just looking at it, it's kind of like the car was scrambled like scrambled eggs. And looking at our dummy, he's pretty well scrambled too.
And that means it's conclusion time.
Well, in the movie, bulldozer gets blasted way up in the air, and me and Cato climb out of the car without a scratch on us. In real life, the bulldozer didn't move at all, and me and Cato would have been blown to smithereens. All this tells me is if you want to make a good movie, the first thing you got to do is throw reality out the window. That's what I've learned.
So Seth, what does this mean for the Green Hornet? You planning any rewrites to accommodate the laws of physics?
Absolutely not. The real question is, what does this mean for your show?
Well, it means that your movie physics didn't line up with real physics on 2 counts, and that you would have been toast if you were in that car and it didn't remove the bulldozer from the scene.
Yes, and that means part 2 of the myth, like our heroes, is dead and buried. There is simply no way they would have survived. But recreating the bulldozer's flight is still in their sights.
Now the only question for us is, what would it take to get that bulldozer to fly?
Awesome.
I think so. Let's go.
Cary, Grant, and Tori, arriving in their bullet-riddled Black Beauty, are about to test the Green Hornet car-cleaving conundrum.
We're in the welding bay at Hunter's Point so that we can test the myth from the Green Hornet that a car can be cut in half by an elevator. Now in the movie, this wasn't just any old elevator. This was a big glass elevator that the Black Beauty crashed through the side of and then got cut in half not by the elevator's door frame, but actually by the ceiling. Now, we couldn't find any elevator like this at all anywhere. So, in MythBusters fashion, we're going to create our own.
And to do it, they've brought in over 3.5 tons of steel for the elevator's structure and a forklift to provide the lift's lift.
What I have here is a small-scale model of what we're going to be building. Now, these pieces here will all be steel I-beams, and across the top and the back. Now, the ceiling in the movie will be represented by a steel trench plate, which we'll weld to the top. So all of this is going to be welded to the steel floor below us, which is embedded in the concrete. Now, it's important that this thing is structurally sound, because when that forklift starts lifting the car, there's going to be a lot of force exerted on this structure, and it cannot move.
With the 3 steel beams lifted, shifted, and welded securely, and the elevator floor trench plate in position, The elevator replica is just about good to go.
You wanted the great mother of all elevators? Well, you got it. Behind me is 3.5 tons of steel, over 50 linear feet of weld. Now, a regular service elevator has a lift capacity of about 10,000 pounds. The forklift that we're using has 3.5 times that. If this can't cut the car in half, no elevator on Earth will. Second floor, ladies' lingerie.
Meanwhile, down on the ground floor, Black Beauty is maneuvered into position.
We're about to put our car into place, but we've drained all the fluids, so we need some heavy machinery to get it over there. And somebody shot up the tires.
All right. We're in the elevator.
Which means it's go time. But Carrie isn't exactly confident this movie myth will play out as it did on screen.
We've built our elevator. We've fashioned our Black Beauty so that it has a nice little bullet hole zipper right through the side, and we're ready to cut it in half.
Are you guys ready?
Personally, I think it's gonna go like this. Squish. And then we're gonna have one kind of half pancakey car and possibly tear that thing out of the ground. Cut it in half, doubtful. Okay, this is the Green Hornet Black Beauty bifurcation by elevator. In 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, that would be a stop.
Bring it down.
Bring her down.
Okay.
Well, Carrie called it. The structure broke free from the base. That's over 3.5 tons of steel secured with heavy-duty welds. If nothing else, the test showed what an elevator can do that's 3.5 times more powerful than a regular one.
All right, well, let's push this in place and we'll re-weld. So it's so important that our structure doesn't move. We tried lifting our car into our elevator and, well, the whole structure broke free. All the welds broke on the floor. So we have re-welded, but not only have we re-welded, we've welded chain and actually put a towing chain over the entire structure that is actually embedded in our floor. So if this thing breaks, we're gonna have to rethink this whole process.
Okay, this is reinforced building for the Green Hornet Black Beauty bifurcation.
Let's cut this car in half.
All right.
In 3, 2, 1, go.
There's no way this is happening.
No way. I mean, that is way more powerful than a regular elevator, and we still were not able to cut that car in half.
But power isn't really the point. As Grant explains, it's about the way that power is applied.
So we set everything up just like they had in the movie. And you know, to get that sort of effect, that back end of the car being chopped off and falling down, you need a cutting force. What we have here is a crushing force. Wow.
This is amazing. Look at this.
All right, that is a smash car. That is not a car cut in half. And that was an unrealistic amount of force that we put on it.
Okay, I feel pretty good about going back to Seth and saying that this is busted.
Good luck. I don't think we're going to be able to convince him.
So Seth, I hate to break it to you, but it looks like your movie myth is kind of busted.
Even after reducing the structural integrity with the machine guns, it's still not cutting in half.
Well, not so fast, because I forgot to tell you something very important, and that is not only did Cato make the car front-wheel drive, he also installed the special zipper system that cuts the car in half, should that ever come up.
Really?
Oh, really?
Yes, we are very clever, us superheroes.
Oh, wow. All right, so how are we going to continue?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious. We need to cut a car in half using conventional tools, not an elevator.
Cheese graters.
Or possibly demo saws, blow torches, and then just see how far we can drive our half car.
And this time, no more superhero excuses.
I'm not gonna need them, because it's gonna work.
So now that's the challenge.
Drive? Front-wheel drive.
Is it really possible that the front half could make good its escape? Or is this scene Hollywood hyperbole?
So obviously, the Black Beauty did not get cut in half quite like it happened in the movie. So if we're gonna replicate this myth and cut a car in half and try to drive it around, we're gonna have to do it the old-fashioned way. Big, destructive tools.
This is going to be fun.
But here's the catch. The Black Beauty and most cars of that era had rear-wheel drive. So we had to skip ahead a few decades to get this gorgeous land yacht here, which I have fondly named the Black Hoopty.
So rather than do a Kato and reconfigure a rear-wheel drive Imperial, the MythBusters Chop Shop is going to hack in half the Black Hoopty.
Now the way we're gonna do that, we're gonna roll it on its side, take the doors off, cut through the bottom first, then the tops and the sides.
I'm pretty sure that's not the standard gas tank removal procedure.
Now you gotta remember, we're gonna be cutting through the fuel line. We're gonna be using torches, power tools, kicking up a lot of sparks. We don't want a fire. So before we start doing any cutting, we need to remove the gas tank. All right, gas tank removed. Let's start chopping this car up.
Nice.
It's important to note that although they've removed the gas tank for safety's sake, when it comes to the test, the residual fuel in the lines and engine should be enough to get the motor running. The question is, will the team be able to drive it?
Yeah! Now we're gonna flip the car on its side so that we can get easier access to the hardest part to cut, which is the chassis. Gorgeous.
Beautiful.
Let's chop this car up!
With the finishing line in sight, the team releases its inner destructive demons in a demo saw massacre.
That's a car cut in half!
Yeah, look at that.
That was awesome.
Let's see if the front end will drive.
But Tori's not confident. After all, they've removed the engine's energy source.
Now we know the engine and the drive wheels are in the front. However, the gas tank with the fuel pump is in the back, and they're no longer connected. You like my new car? Got a lot of leg room. I mean, we might be able to start this car up, but I doubt we're gonna be able to drive it for long.
Meanwhile, our resident glass-half-full proponent is more confident.
I feel like there's a strong possibility that we're gonna be able to drive this car. Not very far. Okay, you ready? But I feel like if there's still a little fuel in there and we cut everything properly, we might get a little bit of a ride.
But at first, they can't even get it started.
Try turning it over.
However, they're not giving up yet. Thinking that there should be some residual gas in the fuel lines, it may just be a starter problem. So Tori squirts starter fluid directly into the carburetor.
There you go.
Close, but not so far.
We removed like 2 inches!
Come on, go again.
To match the movie, they really need to drive the car a reasonable distance. If they don't, you could say the myth has hit the wall.
Go for it. Whoa! Yeah! No brakes! We drove through the wall! Oh, nice!
I have to say it's a nice car, but the turning radius sucks.
What the are you doing over there? Get through the wall.
The most dangerous job in the world. MythBusters' neighbor.
So in summary, the car started and even got going until it hit the wall. But let's face facts. With the fuel lines cut, it wasn't ever going to get very far. And that must mean the myth is busted. Unless, back at the shop, Seth has any more excuses up his superhero sleeve.
So where do we go from here?
Well, clearly me and Kato are dead, and the bulldozer didn't fly, so you guys got a lot of work to do.
Yes, we do.
Well, to get that bulldozer airborne, we need more explosives.
Awesome. And I think we need to break it down to small scale. Let's figure out the best set of parameters that gives us the most amount of movement out of that dozer.
While you guys do that, I'm required back on my private island. I will check in later to get the results. Have fun.
Private island?
I go there all the time.
Really?
It's nice.
Clearly, having the heroes survive an underground blast like the one in the movie is impossible. But getting a bulldozer to fly may not be. So from here on in, Adam and Jamie will be focusing on that alone. And starting in small scale, they want to know which type of explosive has the best heavy lifting qualities.
Only for strong children.
And with their heavy metal toy tractors in tow, they hit the bomb range with a little experimental mayhem in mind.
So we're out at the Alameda County Sheriff's bombing range for some small-scale relative testing. We have 210-pound steel bulldozers, and we've got two types of explosives. 4 pounds of high-speed explosive, 4 pounds of low-speed explosive, and we are looking for which one of these will throw our bulldozers high in the air without shredding them to little tiny bits.
First up is this right here, which is TNT, or trinitrotoluene. Now this has an underground detonation velocity of about 25,000 feet per second, and it's what you might call your average middle-of-the-road high explosive.
For comparative purposes, the charge for both of the small-scale tests will be buried at the same depth. And as per the movie, the bulldozer is positioned on top. Now, let's find out exactly what TNT can do.
It's kind of cute sitting there, isn't it?
It is. Shall we make it into a bunch of smaller cute things?
Yeah.
Burn a hole! Burn a hole! Burn a hole!
4 pounds of TNT in 3, 2, 1.
Hey, that was a big piece of shrapnel over there.
Yeah.
Ho, ho! Still coming down.
Oh!
The familiar sharp crack of TNT. But it didn't exactly pick the truck up and move it in one piece. It flew for sure, but it flew apart first.
Ha! Ha! Look at the size of it.
That's a big pole.
Do you see any piece of the bulldozer anywhere?
I don't see any.
I'm gonna try and find it.
It doesn't take Tracker Savage long to find the trail.
Check this out. That looks like the path I wanted to find.
And way over yonder, at the end of the Yellow Corn Road,
Ha! Found it!
Adam finds what's left of the mean green toy machine.
Look at the amount of force! Dude! I think this is the only chunk we're likely to find.
Well, I'm sitting in all the evidence we have of our TNT blast. One monster of a hole and one beat-up bulldozer bucket. We see pieces in the high-speed shot flying every which way, and this is the only piece we recovered. And the force of this blast was enough to turn this quarter-inch plate into a bubble. Now it's time to find out what a slightly slower speed explosive will do to one of these bulldozers.
This stuff kind of looks like laundry soap, but it's not. It's AMFO, or ammonium nitrate and fuel oil. In the explosives world, it's what's known as a blasting agent, and it has a detonation velocity of about 13,000 feet per second, or about half that of TNT.
Fill her in.
Why is that important to us? Well, instead of ripping and tearing like a really high explosive does, this stuff is known for more pushing and moving of things.
This bulldozer, it's heavier than my wife.
That's why they use it in quarries and construction sites. So we're hoping that if we put that under our dozer, it'll just move it away in one piece instead of blowing it to bits.
Charged.
Firing 4 pounds of AMFO in 3, 2, 1.
Oh! Yeah, I saw it go all the way up the hill there. Oh!
We have a landing.
That was quite an awesome thud.
Yep, the distinctive bass earth-moving thud of ANFO. But did it move the earth-moving machinery in one piece?
Wow, look at that. It just sheared the welds. That's amazing.
The main section became separated from the bucket, but compared to the TNT, the damage was minimal.
There you are, you scamp. Tried to get away. Nice. Oh, look! It's a bit of an old hot water heater. You never know what you're gonna find up here.
We came here today to figure out what is our ideal explosive for getting us the result that we see in the movie. What will move our tractor high into the air without turning it into a lot of little broken baby tractor bits.
And here is all of our evidence. On my left, the TNT blast. This bucket is all that we found. It tore that thing to shreds. On my right, the slower moving AMFO left us most of our evidence and threw it nice and high in the air. And honestly, for my money, I think it's the AMFO. I think this is most likely to get us the distance we're looking for without the broken tractor bits that we don't want. It's AMFO.
Oh, looks like AMFO's our explosive of choice, huh?
I totally agree. AMFO it is.
Let's go make the bulldozer fly.
Okay.
So even if we weren't talking superheroes, this would still be busted. Because when the car's cut in half, it doesn't run for very long.
Yeah, some might say that's because someone drove it directly into a wall.
Details!
All right, well, I guess that's one way of saying our test came to an abrupt ending. But I mean, let's face it, we put fuel in the lines, and I had to use starter fluid in the carburetor to even get the car going.
True, but the superhero in me would like to remind you that Cato knew this car was going to be cut in half all along, so he put a reserve fuel tank in the front of the car, so when our car is cut in half, no fuel lines were actually cut in the first place.
In which case, we need to modify our half car and see if we can make it run for longer.
Boom!
Okay, so Seth is stretching, but it's a legitimate test. If the half car had the fuel, could it drive for long enough to make a superhero-style getaway? To find out, the team hits the Petaluma Speedway. But before they test the half car, they're getting their bearings in a race car, testing out the track. And Grant's nerves. And with a couple of laps under their belts, they're ready to prep their ride. Just as Seth suggested his superhero sidekick Cato did, they're adding a reserve fuel tank in the front.
Without fuel, you don't go anywhere.
But even with fuel, will they go anywhere? Will their half car be able to overcome the friction caused by the drag of the undercarriage? And will the compromised structure remain intact for any kind of distance?
I think it'll make it 3 laps.
Man, I would be happy if it made it 1.
Dude, I think 5.
Yeah? Let's go.
All right, let's try.
It's a simple challenge. Given access to fuel, can this fraction of a car really drive around the track, making a superhero-style escape?
Eat my dust.
Tori, in the driver's seat, dreaming action hero dreams, is about to find out.
A lot of pressure on this race. I gotta get a win, because let's face it, if I don't get a win, all my sponsors are gonna drop me.
And I got voted out of the driver's seat because I'm too crazy?
There's a lot of pressure on this one.
Really?
Woo! Purrs like a kitten.
This is half car drag race. In 3, 2, 1, go! Get it? Drag race?
That's a promising start, and somewhat unexpected because despite a safe, steady speed on the first lap,
He's maintaining about 20 right now.
Tori is clearly having no problems at all. Not what the team thought before they started.
Picking up speed. He's up to 30.
That's lap 1!
When Tori first started out, he started out slow because, let's face it, this is the first time we've ever driven a car that's been cut in half. And so his laps were maybe 10, 15 miles an hour. Once he started getting the hang of driving it, he punched it. And on the straightaways, he peaked out at over 40 miles an hour.
I cannot believe how fast and how well this car drives. I mean, the handling's a little tricky. It's kind of like driving on a wet road or maybe an icy road.
That is crazy!
Woo! That was lap 19. You're coming in for 20. I'm going to be stopping you there.
I cannot believe it. It worked. Cutting a car in half, driving it worked.
Against all the odds, at exceeding all 3 team members' expectations by a factor of at least 4, Tori completed 20 laps without a problem.
That was crazy!
That's 20 laps at 40 miles an hour, and the car was sparking like it was catching on fire.
Oh, that was great. No problems at all.
Half car altered? Plausible.
Totally plausible.
Oh, if the Black Beauty had a reserve fuel tank and if it had separate brake lines, yeah.
Hey,
That was awesome.
don't doubt Cato.
Good job.
That was awesome. Oh my God, I could keep going.
So every technical challenge that we presented Seth, he had an answer for. The Black Beauty, Kato, moved the fuel cell up front. He had a special superhero zipper system that cut the car in half. And you know what? When we addressed all of those issues, it turns out the Black Beauty could have easily driven as a half car. I mean, Tori did 20 laps in this thing, 0 problems handling. This is totally plausible.
So it's plausible. You can drive half a car. But what about the myth as a whole? For that wrap, it's back to the shop.
Yeah, I think we've done enough damage here.
All right, so how are we gonna wrap this one up?
I think we're gonna have to call this one busted.
Whoa. I think I saw a different show than you guys.
We were not able to cut a car in half with an elevator.
The car has a zipper thing in it. It cuts itself in half.
All right, what about the fuel line?
He put it all in the front. He knew.
Okay. In the perfect superhero world, if the Black Beauty happened to be a front-wheel drive, unlike anything of the era, and the gas tank were in the front, and the brakes were in the front, and it could get cut in half by an elevator, sure, it's totally plausible.
Plausible.
Plausible?
Nope.
So it's confirmed?
Don't press your luck.
Okay, I'll take plausible.
Having determined that the explosive escape myth is busted,
It was completely horrifying.
Adam and Jamie want to know what it would take to recreate the scene. The bulldozer has to get airborne, remain intact for the flight, and land at some distance away from its starting point.
Let's do it.
Having determined that AMFO is our lifting explosive of choice, we've come back to try it full scale. That's right, we're gonna put 250 pounds of the stuff underneath our full-size dozer, and we're gonna see if we can get it to fly just like we saw in the movie.
I'd say that's perfect.
That's the hole. Now for a whole lot of big boom.
Someone order some AMFO?
With the ANFO laid into the trench, in a carefully thought out volume and configuration, the crew rigged the detonation cord that'll initiate the explosion. And that means everything's ready to blow. So Adam and Jamie bring in the big shovel to first fill in the hole.
That's what I'm talking about.
And then maneuver the dozer into place, which has to be done with precision because the dead cord is exposed and no one wants unexpected and significant contact that could cause a premature explosion.
We've taken our 250 pounds of AMFO and lined it up right down the length of our machine, just off center. Why off center? Well, we hope that by putting it a little bit on this side, just a few inches, that when it goes off, it'll push the machine up and over that way and do our job for us.
Oh, okay, stop. That's perfect.
Yep.
Blow it up.
Now we've chosen to put 250 pounds of AMFO onto this tractor, and we've chosen that number very carefully. We know how to blow up trucks. We've done it here. And here. But in this case, we want to actually lift this truck without destroying it, and we have settled on 250 pounds as the most likely candidate for moving without destroying.
It's a tricky call. 800 pounds of ANFO ripped the cement truck to shreds. And just 4 pounds threw a 1/100th scale model higher than the movie clip with a small amount of damage. So, taking into account the cushion of earth below and all the advice from the bomb crew, 250 pounds is the number the guys have come up with. But it's a gamble, as they've only got one bulldozer and one shot at it.
Are we ready?
We are ready. Let's do it.
Are you ready?
I sure am.
250 pounds of AMFO in 3, 2, 1. Oh! I see pieces of tires.
I think it was lifted.
I think it was lifted in a lot of little pieces.
Like a nuclear cloud.
Yeah.
Well,
That was a little more than we wanted, wasn't it?
1.
Well, they got liftoff several times in several different directions. And yes, perhaps they did use a fraction too much ANFO, but Adam doesn't seem too upset.
Behind me, a dust cloud that used to be the site on which our bulldozer sat. We can't see exactly what happened, but given the pieces of bulldozer and tires I saw flying from the main location, I think we destroyed a bulldozer. I'm not that broken up about it either.
Adam may not be broken up, but anything at the center of this probably will be.
Look at the shockwave.
Wow.
Ah, I love that. Perfect sphere of destruction.
Wow!
There's no dozer, but there's no place where the dozer sat either.
This hole is deeper than the hole we dug for the car. You think we went a little too far?
Just a little. Well, pigs may not fly, but bulldozers apparently can, at least in little pieces. Oh, look, there's the wheel.
And those pieces clock some frequent flyer miles. This is about 500 feet from the blast center.
Wow. That's awesome. The most damning aspect of this is I'm sitting on the biggest part of the bulldozer that we could find, and it's sitting about as far from the hole as we saw the bulldozer fly in the movie, except the hole is a hole the size of the car that would be there. The entirety of the thing would have been vaporized along with the two heroes in the car. It's really quite spectacular, and I hope this goes to show you kids at home that bulldozers and explosives just don't mix.
Well, let me see if I can reconstruct the scene here. You got your throttle and you got your seat. Even with the slower detonation velocity and the higher pushing power of the Ampho, we weren't quite able to get that sweet spot we were looking for, where everything is perfectly balanced and the machine comes up off the hole and sets down nicely someplace else. The thing is, for that to happen, all sorts of things have to be balanced just so. The exact configuration and quantity of the explosives, the exact amount of earth on top of the explosives, the weight and the configuration of the machine overhead, all of that stuff has to come into just one moment of interacting perfectly for this to happen. We didn't quite get it.
Dear Adam and Jamie, I love your show, but I was wondering in the Green Hornet myth why you didn't bury the car underneath the bulldozer when you blew it up with 250 pounds of ammo. Dear dedicated fan, I appreciate your question. It's truly an inspiration. However, we decided that because we already knew the guys were dead with a smaller amount of explosives, adding more was only adding insult to injury, and thus we did not need those guys in the car for the next test. Oh, thank you. So where do we stand on this one?
Well, given an infinite quantity of bulldozers and explosives, we might be able to figure out how to move one without destroying it, but...
Yeah, but there's no permutation of any amount of explosives that could move even the dozer a little bit that wouldn't leave the guys in the car vaporized jelly. This thing's totally busted.
Yeah, it's busted.
You think Seth is gonna be mad?
He'll get over it.